Alright, so our first play is just going to start off really simply, just the Diviner and E-Telly combo. 2-card Baron. Start off by summoning Diviner, you're going to go ahead and dump your Scythe. That's going to make Diviner into a level 7. You're going to activate the E-Telly, special summon Yan from the deck. Very easy, just go into Baron from there. And now you have the Scythe block set up, ready to go. Okay, this next one is a 3-card combo, technically a 4 because you do need a fodder card. Takes you just a little bit further. And the end word might seem a little awkward, but I'll explain why at the end. Once again, start off by summoning Diviner. You're going to go ahead and dump your Scythe to the grave. This makes Diviner level 7. Then you're going to activate your Qualoon. Once again, we're going to go for Chooch. GG is going to target the Chooch, dumping your Chinlong in the process. And then immediately, we're going to go ahead and sink 10. That brings out Baron. Then we're going to go ahead and banish our Chinlong. And of course, we're going to search for Lulu. Cost of Chinlong will be the fodder card in our hand. Next up, we're going to activate Lulu. You're going to dump a Chinlong for follow-up. You're going to dump a Chinlong for follow-up and search for Lao. Next up, you're going to go ahead and summon the Lao. And you're going to go ahead and dump Nyan for its cost, and then special summon GG from the grave. This will activate the effect of your Nyan, special summoning itself to the field. Now you're just going to go ahead and sync off the Nyan and the GG to go into your Stardust Charge Warrior. You're going to go ahead and draw a card. And then you're going to go ahead and sync off Lulu and the Warrior for Shen Shen. We very easily could have gone for the Lily off the Lulu search, but while that would have gotten us the same end board minus the Lao, we would have been missing one virtual card in our banish zone. By going for the Lao, we were able to grab the Nyan, dump the Nyan, and then revive the Nyan off its own effect, syncing it off and banishing it via that same effect, thus giving us 2 cards banished for Chuche. Alright, and next Diviner combo, we're going to go ahead and show off what we can do with Lily. Start off by summoning Diviner, but this time instead of dumping Scythe, we're going to go ahead and dump a second copy of Diviner, making our Field Diviner into a level 4. Next up, we activate Qualoon, and once again place Chooch on the field. Now Lily's going to go ahead and summon itself, dumping both a Chinlong and a Nyan to the grave. Next up, we're going to go ahead and sync 10, and bring out our Baron. Now we activate the effect of our Chinlong, and we're going to go ahead and grab Lulu to hand, dumping our extra card in the process. Now Lulu is going to summon itself, and we're going to go ahead and dump a Chinlong for follow-up and add Lao to hand. Summoning Lulu is going to bring back our Nyan from the grave. Next up, we're going to go ahead and summon Lao, and we're going to go ahead and dump a Chooch to grave, and then bring back Lily. Now we're going to go ahead and sync off any one of our level 3 tuners with our Lily and go into Shen Shen. And then with our remaining monsters, we're going to go ahead and banish our Chooch. Buff up the level our level 3, making it level 6. Overlay for Baron, and then detach for Scythe. Alright, next we're going to work with Souls, Lulu, and Qualoon. You're going to activate Souls first because if you activate a Virtual World effect first, then you're locked out of Special Summoning Souls. Next up, you activate the Qualoon, and you place Chooch on field. Next up, you're going to go ahead and summon Lulu by targeting Chooch, and you're going to go ahead and dump a Chinlong and add GG to hand. Then we're going to go ahead and sync 4 into Cupid Pitch. Now the effect of Cupid Pitch is going to activate because we use a level 3 tuner. We buff Cupid Pitch up to level 7. And then we go ahead and use GG by targeting our Chooch, and we dump Nyan into grave, and then we simply sync 10 into Baron. This activates the effect of Cupid Pitch, searching us our Lily from our deck. Now we can activate the effect of our Chinlong in our grave, add Lao to hand, and discard the Lily we just added to our hand. Next up, we're going to go ahead and summon Lao by dumping a Chinlong for follow-up next turn. Lao effect is then going to bring back our GG, which in turn activates the effect of Nyan. We're going to go ahead and sync 6, get our Charge Warrior, draw Charge Warrior's effect, and then we're going to overlay and go into Beatrice and set up our Scythe block. Alright, next up we're going to start with the same 3 cards but go a little bit different of a route. Once again, Souls first because you got to. Next up, Qualoon, once again activating the Chooch from the deck. Lulu's going to go ahead and dump a Chinlong and search a GG. So far the play is exactly the same, but this time we're going to activate the Chinlong early. We're then going to add Lao to hand and send GG to grave as cost for the Chinlong. Now we're going to go ahead and summon Lao, dump a Chinlong in grave for follow-up next turn, bring back the G, sync 9 into Shen Shen, and it's very important we do the Shen Shen first because we want to banish the Lulu when we synchro summon Arclight. The reason we banish Shen Shen first is because it guarantees us Lulu and Chinlong in the banishment zone, meaning that Chuche is live. We don't get Baron unfortunately, but we still get an Omni Negate via Herald of the Arclight. Starting off the deck list, we have triple Lulu. Lulu is our main starter and search power here. Luckily for us, she is also a level 3, meaning that if worst case scenario, we open up Lulu and any one of our level 6s, Lulu can normal summon itself, allowing the others to go off. In addition, Lulu is a wind and psychic monster, so if you get Gozen matched or rivalried, you can always use Lulu alongside Nan to go into either your Juju or your Shenshen, giving you an out to those two problematic cards. Next up we got Triple G. Similar to Lulu, it's a level 3 monster, meaning that if you open up with a brick of your hand, GG can normal summon itself, allowing the other monsters to use it as a target to go off. In addition, its effect to grab a card at the end of the turn and add to your hand is amazing for the grind game, as it brings you the solution for whatever problems you may need. Next we got double Nans. Nans is a great little extender that can bring itself back from the grave. However, the reason we're only playing 2 is because you don't want to draw into it. You want to dump into the grave as often as possible because it lacks the primary VW effect of special summoning itself to the field from the hand. Its ability to recycle itself comes in great into the grind game, but more importantly, we're running 2 because of Runic specifically. In faster builds, I tend to run just the 1, but because of the grind game this format, and again because of Runics, we're running 2 so that we can recycle itself alongside Shenshen and Chuche in order to make sure that we never deck out. Next up we have double Lao and double Lily. Anything more for these is just asking for bricks. You can run 1 Lily, but I wouldn't recommend anything more or less than 2 Laos. Lao tends to be the card we search for off of Lulu or Qinlong, and it's usually the final part of our combo, leading into either a Beatrice or a Shenshen depending on what other cards you have on field at the time. Of course, it also goes into Fan really easily, which is great for board breaking. And much like Lulu is a psychic wind monster, meaning that we aren't Gozen and rivalry locked because of Nian. As for the Lily, if you want a little more speed in the deck with some more draw cards, you can cut the Lily down to 1. It's not the most essential card in our deck, but because of the grind game, I think 2 is essential right now. If this was a faster deck running the adventure stuff, I would definitely cut Lily down to 1, but in the going first build, I think 2 is the right number here. Again, I wouldn't run 3 because that's asking for bricks, as Lily is one of the harder VWs to use just because it's not a tuner, so you have to be really careful with the way you utilize Lily. One thing to keep in mind with Lily is that the second dump isn't mandatory. Onto the spell and trap lineup, pretty standard, triple Qualoon because it brings out whatever spell or trap we need. Next up we got triple Qinlong. Not only is this card still an amazing search card for the deck, but it now takes on a nice little role of being able to negate either Baron or Toad. In Toad's case, if your opponent decides to negate the Qinlong to protect and then recycle their Toad, you now have access to Qinlong's secondary effect in order to search from the grave. Onto the traps, we're running double Chooch and 1 Zunwu. Chooch takes on a very important role now because it is our in-deck out to Mystic Mine. The reason we're running 2 instead of 3 is because it gets really easy to brick in that way. At the very least, if you draw Chuche and a Zunwu, you can always work with those 2 in hand and set them, and you'll have 2 different cards that do 2 different things versus setting 2 Chooches and just being stuck with a 1-time per turn effect. The reason we're running Zunwu in general is because sometimes you need to dump 2 trap cards per turn, and you don't want to dump both copies of your Chuche. Zunwu also works as a nice little chain block because it can activate its effect to protect your VW monsters, and of course, every now and then bringing back a VW monster off the Zunwu is important in the grind game. It is also a card that can banish itself to set up the Chooch. Next up we got the triple Itelis because you want to see Lulu and Yan as often as possible. You got your Diviners of the Heralds as our new starters for the decks. After all, we're playing VW, so unless you have a brick in your hand, you're not really going to use your normal summon for the VW monsters, in which case Diviner of the Herald comes out for very quick access to Baron or Beatrice. If you so choose, you could also run Apprentice Illusion Magician as a level 6 target for Illusion of Chaos, which allows you to go into either Beatrice or Ultimaya. Running 2 souls because you want to open with them as often as possible, but you don't really want to draw into them late game as you'd rather see a VW monster. We're only running the 1 illusion as opposed to 2, because the deck can very easily search for illusion off your Diviner, and late game it really does suck to draw under your Illusion of Chaos. Even though you may have to send your 1 copy illusion to grave for your first souls, your second is always normal summonable. One thing that makes souls really work with the deck is that you can easily send your Qinlongs to the grave to both draw and then have surge power afterwards. Next we got Artifact Scythe. I don't like running this card, but it is what it is, you know, we gotta do, we gotta do. Next up, triple Imperm. Once again, outing cards like Baron, Sprite Elf, or Toad is very important, and Imperm is just the way to do it. You could run things like Dark Ruler No More in this slot, but Imperm has benefits of going both on your turn or your opponent's turn, whether it be as a hand trap or a card you set on the field and then pass with. We are main decking double Cosmic Cyclones because, of course, Mystic Mine is alive and well, and there's a lot of good back running around right now that we want to take care of. You could run Harpy's Feather Duster if you really wanted to, but double Cosmic Cyclone, of course, plays around things like Hugins. Next up, triple Tactitons at 3. Everything plays on your turn, whether it be Tears, Fusion Summoning on your turn, Toad plays, Elf plays, your opponent is playing on your turn guaranteed. Triple Tactics is here so you can benefit off of it, whether that be unclogging a bricky hand or just taking control of your opponent's monsters and using them as Exceed or Synchro Fodder. Triple Tactics is an amazing card in this format. Next up, the one Called by the Grave. This is really just to protect us from Ash Blossom and to be set as a nice little trap for whatever your opponent might be doing. Gets rid of Tears, gets rid of Sprites in the Grave, gets rid of Toads. Called by the Grave is an amazing card right now, and I wish it was at 2. Some people want a ban, I want it at 2. I want more. Not 3, the 3 is too much. Never 3. Onto the side deck, we have our Gamma package to start things off. The Gammas are here for 2 cards specifically, D-Shifter and Abyss Dweller. Even though we like banishing our cards, D-Shifter means that we can't activate our VW effects to send to grave because they get sent to banished instead, so we just can't really play anything. Gamma ensures that we have that turn. Abyss Dweller doesn't immediately lock us out of the deck, we can still play around it. We're just locked out of things like Qinlong's effect and Nan's effect in grave, so we prefer to have those cards available to us on our turns. Once again, Gamma is here for those 2 specifically. It hits a lot of other things too, but those 2 are the big problematic cards. Our next card is 3 copies of Spirit Master. Spirit Master is here for Runics. When Spirit Master is banished, it gets to pop a card on the field, which we're always going to be aiming for either Mystic Mine or the Runic Field Spell. What makes Spirit Master so deadly is that alongside Shenshin, it is a recurring pop. When Spirit Master and Shenshin are graved together, you can banish Spirit Master alongside any of your VW cards to revive the Shenshin, thus activating Spirit Master's effect to pop a card. Shenshin can then attack, bringing the Spirit Master back into the graveyard, allowing Shenshin to not only be a walking macrocosmos, but a pop waiting to happen. Spirit Master is a really nice card to have in the grind game because it just means that Shenshin is that much more of a threat. Next up, depending on what you're going up against, Spell Canceller might be the way to go over the Scythe, though we can't dump Canceller off the Diviners. We can still dump it via Beatrice, and in a nice little twist, it is a win monster, meaning that we can't get Gozen matched. Next up, we got 4 cards dedicated to Mystic Mine Hate. Our 3rd copy of Cosmic Cyclone, and then 3 copies of High Rate Draw. High Rate Draw also helps by giving us draw power, which of course, as all VW players know, consistency is always our biggest problem. Filling out the side deck, we got 3 copies of DD Crow because it hits pretty much all the big decks this format. On the extra deck, we got 1 Cupid Pitch because it makes for easy Baron plays, and of course searches for either your Lulu or your Lily. Our 1 copy of Arclight because it protects us from Tears, it protects us from Forbidden Droplet, and any other hand traps that may come our way. To start off the level 6s, we have Stardust Charge Warrior. Charge Warrior is great because it's a wind monster, which of course means that we're not going to get Gozen locked, and it gives us a free draw, which of course in VW is always appreciated. In addition, the ability to attack all special summon monsters is quite nice as it can clear the board for some of our bigger beaters. Next up, we got our Walking DD Crow in Raptite. As long as we have a wind monster in grave, which Lulu is, we can activate a DD Crow effect every turn. Next up, we have Juju, which is nice for a variety of reasons. It's a little board breaker, it's a defensive option, really versatile card here, and of course, because it is a name, it can act as an extender. The big boss of VW is Shenshin. Walking Macrocosmos shuts down a lot of decks just by being on the field and forces them to respond to it. Of course, its ability to bring itself back is excellent in the grind game, and most decks are going to fear having to deal with being banished outside of Flunderies, which, you know, in that case, you just gotta throw hands with the Flunderies player. There's no other alternative. Next up, we got our Baron. Even though it's level 10, because of Diviner and the Souls, it's very easy to get into. And being a wind monster, we are not afraid it goes in match because it can very easily sit on the field alongside Shenshin and Juju. Being able to summon this card as our 3rd or 5th summon is also great because it means that we don't have to worry about Nibiru. Next up, we got Chen Ying, because Chen Ying and Shenshin are a dream team. Not only that, but alongside cards like Qinlong, you are guaranteed to banish every turn, meaning you always have access to Chen's secondary effect. In the final synchro slot, we have Sigma. The reason for Sigma is that it's a card that doesn't have to worry about cards like Super Poly. Sigma is a great little card to sit on, it's impervious to all your opponent's effects. Of course, they can still beat over it, but with Chuche backing it up, that's going to be very difficult for them to do. Onto the Xyz lineup, we're starting things off with Breaksword. Break Swords are a lone rank 3 monster. The rank 3 lineup is kind of rough. You have Gossip, Shadow, and Fortune, which are your best going first rank 3s, but there are better options in our deck for going first cards. Those are really just like last options. You'd much rather go into like a Beatrice, a Bouncer, your Baron, your Shen over either of those rank 3s. And with Gossip Shadow, while the negate is nice, you also have to give your opponent a free card, which means it's a little rough because at this point in the game, every card matters, and Gossip Shadow giving your opponent a free one is kind of rough. Our first rank 6 is Beatrice. Of course, this sets up our Scythe lock, but it can also dump whatever VW, Spell, or Trap, or Nyan into the grave that we need in order to play the game. Next up is our Photon Strike Bouncer. This card is just a nice little negate. We can't always get to Baron or Arclight, so having a more reliable rank 6 to negate things is nice. It only negates monsters, which isn't as great as Baron or Arclight, but sometimes we just gotta make do. On the board breaker side for the rank 6s, we have Fan Fan. Fan Fan is of course a name. It can bring out BW monsters from your deck, but most importantly, it's a board breaker. If you're going second, you want to go into Fan Fan over Bouncer or the Beatrice. Of course, the one issue is that if you use Fan Fan's effect, you don't really have the option of going into Zeus, but sometimes you just have to make do. Our last monster is Zeus because it's a free out to pretty much anything in the game. And of course, it's very easy for us to make with our rank 3 and rank 6 lineup. The final card in our extra deck is one that I'm sure you've been looking at the entire time, wondering why it's here, thinking it might be an accident. But Access Code Talker is our out to Mystic Mine. Very often we go first, we set up a nice little board, and then Mystic Mine sits there and should ruin our day. But by running Access Code, we have a nice Link 4 that can then pop the Mystic Mine afterwards. Of course, you're going to have to sacrifice Access Code Talker itself to do that, but sometimes you just have to do that in order to be able to play the game. If you so choose, you can easily drop the Access Code Talker for another rank 3 or another rank 6. Like I said, we're not running things like Gossip Shadow or Fortune. You can easily run those over the Access Code Talker. You could of course run another level 9, something like Navy Dragon Mech over the Access Code Talker, but Mystic Mine is just a really big problem for us, so having a card that can pop it and control the board to make sure that we have an even monster lineup is pretty nice to have. I completely understand if you want to cut Access Code Talker. Once Darkwing Blast comes out, the deck's going to go ahead and see quite a difference. You can still run the Diviners if you want going first, but I think a going second build is going to be more important, but I'll get into that once Darkwing Blast comes out. If you guys have any questions or comments about the profile, go ahead and ask them in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them down below. Till next time, peace.